Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Broken Down Bike. I don't care, get here for the meeting. Edit, for people asking, this is in the UK, I have a full motorbike license with no restrictions. So this is about me, just a quick bit of background. I exclusively ride motorbikes. I have not got a car license. So I worked at a company that held a yearly sales briefing that was mandatory for any team that was related to, even tangentially, the sales process. I was in one of these peripheral teams. On the morning of the meeting, which is held in the same town as the work and around 40 minutes drive from home, I had to go pick up fuel before coming to work. When I get to the petrol station, I notice the engine is getting far too hot and I look down and see the bike is leaking coolant all over the road. So I walk the bike to the side of the road and start letting it cool. I call up HR and make them aware of the issue and say I have unused holiday, please use it to cover my hours. I also fire emails off to my boss and HR and send my boss a text. I get on the phone and get talking to my normal garage, who say they can pick me home up around 11 o'clock, it's now 7:30. I say fine, I'll get the bus to them, drop the keys off and head home. As I'm about to leave, my boss rings me and says I have to attend today or else face the consequences. I explain that I can't make it due to the issues. The only option I have is to ride the bike to the garage, which is very dangerous for it and me. He just tells to turn up and hangs up. I ring HR and they say they will talk to him, and around 15 minutes late ring back and say no, I have to turn up no matter the cost or risk. I ask them to put that in writing and also to say if I damage my kit in the process they will pay. They reluctantly agree and I say, great. Yes, our director, I'll do my best to get there. After the email comes through, so it's a 6 miles ride to the bike shop. So I fire the bike up and leg in there, overheating the engine to the point it seized. I drop it off. I also ask them to fix any issue with the bike that could possibly come from my trip here, with a wink. He tells me, sure, I'll be extra vigilant for any damage. Sends me on my way. Now by this point it's 9:45, I'm boiling hot and sweaty as hell. I realize I can't go home to change and get the train from my city to the town I work in time for the 12 o'clock start of the sales meeting, briefing. So I walk to the station, hear the train, and someone carelessly knocks my bike helmet off the luggage and cracks it. I get to the venue in full bike gear, boots, trousers, jacket, carrying my gloves, broken helmet, backpack. I stink of sweat, am peeved off and annoyed. The HR director walked up and asked me what the hell I'm playing at and why am I not in a business suit. This is in the lobby of a hotel with all the other staff milling around, so I say with a loud angry voice, gee, I don't know. Maybe my bike broke down, needs serious repairs. Maybe I've had some idiot smash my helmet. Maybe I had a knobhead of the manager tell me I had to turn up to a meeting to watch of the sales team walk all over each other and the other teams and congratulate themselves. Maybe it's because I'm going to sit there and do nothing and I could have been fixing my bloody bike. I stormed off the meeting room, stripped out of my bike gear and sat down in civvies throughout the entire meeting, daydreaming of going home as soon as it finished. I got up and left, literally walking past everyone and ignoring the lot of them. I ended up calling in sick the rest of the week as I caught a fever and couldn't be asked. My doctor said my stress wasn't helping. During that week the bike shop said the bike would cost around £3,000 to fix, including new engine, gearbox, chain and sprockets, both tyres and new rear wheel. So I asked can they send me an itemized bill and reasoning, which they dutifully did, and I forwarded to HR along with my receipt for new bike gear, and pretty much all mine was ruined. Helmet £200, jacket £100, trousers £100, boots £200, gloves £100. HR sends a curt email back saying why are you telling us? These are your bills. So I attached the email from the HR director saying they would cover all costs incurred if my bike or I were damaged or hurt post-breakdown getting it to the shop. I told them since none of the damage would have occurred if I had let them pick up the bike and let me have the day off, it's all on them. I said if you refuse I will go to a solicitor and get them to look into it. Well, after a 2-hour marathon meeting my manager argued I knew the meeting was on and should have alternate arrangements in place. This is in an open plan office. I loudly say, "So you told me to walk or ride a bike you knew to be dangerous down a busy main road? Are you serious? Are you even aware how dangerous that is? Remember, it's leaking coolant all over." HR told me to go home as things were stressed. Which I did, and the next day we all had a meeting where they basically caved. The HR lady revealed that they asked the company solicitor after I left, and they basically told work they agreed to pay the costs and damage. If they back out, they would have a hard time defending it if I went to solicitor, as they knew the damage to the bike before they told me to ride it and what could have happened. So yeah, moral of the story: be careful what you order your staff to do. Edit. So as people pointed out, I could have got a taxi, but I'm not going to abandon my bike on the side of a busy main road for hours on end. That's how thefts happen, and my insurance would not cover it. In my insurance, even now, years later, if I break down and need to get recovered, I must stay with the bike. If I leave it and it gets further damaged or stolen, I'm 100% at fault for it and they won't pay out. Yes, I did plan to leave to bike, but it was at a garage and could be looked after. The next one is titled, "Homeowners Association Doesn't Care About My Health, But How Dare My Flat Look Nonconformist." This happened 5 years ago. It's a long one but worth the read, or at least I think so. First, a bit about me. For the story's sake, you can call me Alex. I was a 29-year-old male at the time. I'm generally very friendly and accommodating and try to avoid confrontation where possible, and always try to do things in a peaceful and patient manner. Now onto the backstory. I lived in a gated community comprised entirely of multiple blocks of small apartments. Every block of apartments looked exactly the same as the other blocks of apartments around it. They were a few floors high and I lived on the first floor. Clarification: I believe in America the first floor is the ground floor. Where I lived, the ground floor is the ground floor and the first floor is the one above the ground floor, or as Americans would call it, the second floor. So I lived one floor above the ground floor. The Homeowners Association, estate management, were extremely strict about any infringements regarding things we weren't allowed to do, and would issue fines very quickly if you were in breach of the rules and didn't rectify it. For example, you were allowed to have furniture on your patio, but you weren't allowed to have any decor on your patio. I imagine it was because they wanted uniformity in the appearance of the blocks of flats. Also, no loud noise or music was allowed after 10 p.m. I personally agreed with the no loud noise thing. It was quite a peaceful community that frankly was very well managed, which is something I enjoyed about it. I didn't agree so much with that no decor thing. As a photographer and artist, personal expression is important to me, but I figured as long as I kept it tasteful and stylish and mostly out of visible sight, they hopefully wouldn't have an issue with it. I'm a big fan of vintage motorbikes and had a few tasteful, or at least I thought they were tasteful, metal posters with classic bikes like Triumph Bonnevilles, Indian Scouts, BSAs, Nortons, Ducatis etc. up on one of the walls of my patio. They were at such an angle that meant they weren't easily visible from the rest of the complex, so didn't think it would be an issue. Somehow it was still spotted by the estate manager. But more on this later. I also had a few pot plants the ledge of my balcony. Again, we'll get to that later. You need to know about it for the rest of the story. My downstairs neighbor also used to smoke in her back garden. The ground floors had small gardens and my balcony was directly above her garden. Her smoke would rise up and go through my open bedroom window or the large sliding door on my patio, which was usually open in summer, and enter my flat. Since I don't smoke, this bothered me. The smell seeped into my furniture and bedding. Even my sleeping pillow smelled of smoke. I politely spoke to her in person about it and she apologized for the inconvenience but never stopped doing it. She was actually a very friendly lady. She was never horrible. I suppose she was nice enough to be friendly but not nice enough to stop doing it. So I decided to take it a step further and I emailed the manager of the gated community to ask if there was something that could be done. The following is the email transaction between myself and the manager, who I'll call Nicole. Good day. I stay in unit 117 on the first floor, and my downstairs neighbor, who lives on the ground floor, although being a very friendly old lady, has a nasty habit of smoking in her patio. My issue is that in summer with the heat, I leave my bedroom window and sliding door open to keep my flat cool, and the fumes from her cigarettes are constantly rising up and entering my apartment. I'm not a smoker, so this bothers me. My flat smells as if a smoker lives there. Now my question is there any rule or law that says she can't smoke in her patio due to her smoke entering my flat? She knows her smoke bothers me and has apologized to me for it but hasn't done anything about it. If she were to only smoke inside her flat or outside her front door, I'm sure the smoke wouldn't come into my flat nearly as much since I never have my front door open. Thanks in advance. Regards, Alex. She responded with, "Good morning Alex, this is a very contentious issue as this is her home and there is no law at the moment stating you cannot smoke in your home. Regards Nicole." I wasn't happy with that response but I figured there was nothing more I could do about it and didn't want to bother making a bigger issue of it, so I just forgot about it and moved on until about a year later when estate management picked up on 2 infringements by me. At this point, Nicole had resigned and Stuart had replaced her. This is the email I got from Stuart. "Good day, I trust that you are well. Please could you remove the pots from the wall as per the attached photo as this is dangerous should they be knocked off and fall onto someone downstairs and in breach of the conduct rules. Furthermore, no items can be attached to the walls in the patio and you are requested to remove the pictures as per the photo as this is aesthetically displeasing. Your assistance is appreciated. Kind regards Stuart, estate manager." After that email I was now a bit upset and determined to get my way in terms of my smoking downstairs neighbor. Cue my malicious compliance. "Good day Stuart. I'm very well. Thanks for asking. Absolutely, I will take the pictures down. Not a problem. We wouldn't want someone's vision to be irreparably damaged from the unsightly trauma that is my vintage bike picture collection. Though I must comment that I appreciate the very polite way my decor is described as aesthetically displeasing as opposed to what that actually means. Damn, that's ugly is probably a more colloquial translation. My feelings might have been hurt otherwise. I'm very relieved I didn't go into the profession of interior decorating, which a few people I know have said I should have done, since the sudden realization that my taste in style isn't what I once thought it was. It could have been a disaster career-wise. Alternatively, what if I were to replace the photos of the bikes with a nice family portrait of my parents? Granted, they aren't supermodels but they're attractive to me, though I may be biased in that opinion since I care for them, so I'm hoping they're not too ugly. Oops, I mean, aesthetically displeasing. If that fails, maybe a reproduction of the Mona Lisa would be sufficient to meet your high standards. Tourists travel across the globe and wait in line for hours just to see it for a few minutes. Would that be allowed? I won't even charge fellow tenants for looking at it when they're walking past my balcony. Obviously, I'm being a little ridiculous and I don't mean to give you a hard time. You're just doing your job and enforcing some of the ridiculous rules that management come up with, like the communist-level restriction on personal expression and the freedom of choice to decorate and style our own property in a manner that we like. God forbid we show some individuality. Now that I think about the endless rows of identical-looking Soviet-era housing structures do have a nice seizure-inducing repetitive nature about them. While we're on the subject of decor, how is it that plastic patio furniture is still allowed? Yes, it is patio furniture which complex rules say are allowed on patios, but damn, that is painful to look at. You know what I mean, right? That cheap white plastic stuff one buys at the furniture section at those large bulk buying stores? I find it very aesthetically displeasing. Oh screw it. It's ugly. I don't like looking at it. It comes across as tacky. Can't they be scrapped as well? I'm going off topic again. The whole point of me bringing all of this up is that a few months ago I emailed asking about a complaint I had. The complaint was that the lady who lives directly downstairs from me regularly smokes in her garden. And me, being the lover of oxygen that I am, keep my windows and patio door open for fresh air. And her smoke is constantly wafting into my apartment. Me being a non-smoker, I get quite annoyed. I asked if anything could be done about this. I was told, it's her property and her patio, she can smoke on it if she wants to. I know that health legislation stipulates that smoking within a certain distance from a designated non-smoking area is illegal. If it's good enough for public spaces, shouldn't I have that same right in my own house? Granted, I don't have designated non-smoking area signs in my flat, but I'm the only one who lives there, so I already know there's no smoking allowed. I made the rule. It would be silly to put them up inside. Should I put them up outside on my patio instead so others can see? Maybe they don't know I don't like cigarette smoke. Actually wait, I already know the answer to that. They're aesthetically displeasing. Forget I mentioned it. So to recap, what really gripes me is that when my neighbor smokes so close to my flat that I can practically smell what brand of cigarettes she smokes, I'm told I can't do anything about it even though it might affect my health because it's her property and she can do what she likes on it. By that logic, she could host orgies on her lawn and I couldn't do anything about so long as she kept the volume down after 10 p.m. But I can't put up pictures on my patio because some people might not like the way they look, even though it is also my property and would be nice if I could do with it as I wanted provided it wasn't an eyesore. Since I take a lot of pride in my flat, I wouldn't call it an eyesore as I maintain it quite well, or at least I think so. If only a person's lungs and health were as important as other people's inability to mind their own business. So, what I really want to know is there any way that my neighbor could possibly just smoke inside her flat or at least outside the front of her flat? If she insists on smoking outside where the smoke won't come into my place as easily, I would accept that too. I'm not a completely unreasonable guy. I find her smoke nasally displeasing. I normally wouldn't make such a big deal about it, but I'm starting to feel that what I'm subjected to versus what others have to be subjected to is a bit unfair. Sorry to put all this on you, Stuart. I understand it's totally not your fault. I'll still take the pictures and the pot plants down immediately. Your assistance is appreciated. Kind regards, Alex, Unit 117. I sent that reply after 6 p.m. and I did not expect him to respond until the next morning. But half an hour later I got a reply. My email must have made an impact. Hi Alex, thank you for your email. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. I do understand your frustration and unfortunately this is the reality of staying in such built-up complexes. I will address the issue of the smoking with your neighbor and will revert to you. Thank you for your assistance and understanding. Kind regards, Stuart. To me, that sounded positive. So Stuart deserved a pat on the back. I sent a short reply, thanks Stuart. Much appreciated. You're a top-notch guy. By now it was after 8 p.m. and I'm sure someone with a 9-to-5 desk job like Stuart should have been at home and clocked out, but he was still replying to me. Hi Alex. I have confirmed that smoking is only allowed inside the unit or at least 5 meters from a public place, such as your balcony. I will confirm the neighbor's unit number in the morning, unless you can advise offhand, and will address her on the smoking issue. Kind regards, Stuart. I was over the moon. I ran downstairs to see what her unit number was and ran back upstairs to reply. Stuart. You've gone from being a top-notch guy to being a legend. Thanks so much. Her unit is 107. I was worried the outcome wouldn't be great and would have to accidentally bump into my pots while taking my pictures down while she was conveniently smoking in just the right position. It would be a tragic accident, of course. Cough cough, sorry, some smoke got into my lungs. Though that would be a lot of effort since I've already taken the plants and pictures down and I would have to put them all up again to make the story sound believable to the police because they would no doubt interrogate me on suspected murder with a pot plant. And that's frankly too much effort. Luckily I don't have to resort to that. Thanks again, Stuart. Your hard work has kept me out of prison. It's late. You can email her in the morning. Go home and have a beer. You've earned it. P.S. In all seriousness though, I'm totally kidding about the pot plant thing, and if the lady downstairs were to peg it in the near future it would be completely coincidental and nothing to do with me, and I'd appreciate it if you forgot you ever spoke to me. This would be terrible evidence against me in court. I mean, I dislike smokers but I wouldn't kill them. I'm not crazy. Regards, Alex. Sadly, that was the last I would hear from Steve. Our correspondence stopped after that. I felt we had developed a bond and it ended as quickly as it had begun. I only lived in that estate for another 2 years and had no more issues with the downstairs neighbor or her cigarette smoke. I now live in the suburbs in a lovely house with my wife and have no downstairs neighbors to complain about and no Stuarts to tell me what I can and can't do. I will treasure our time together. I hope wherever he is, he has our email thread printed out and pinned on his office board above his desk and thinks of me fondly whenever he looks at it. The last one is titled, "You Want to Go Home?" Okay, I'll get right on that. I used to work for an assisted living facility in my hometown, and facilities like these are notorious for overworking staff, lack of people. I had worked in our memory care unit, and finally got 3 days off after working 28 days straight, half of my shifts at 16 hours long. The rest at 10 to 12 hours. Mind you, I was only scheduled for 8 hours a day 5 days a week. I was resting in bed at home, when I get a frantic call from my boss, 60 female, on my second day off, saying that our entire evening shift staff quit, 4 people, and it would be me and a new trainee watching our 19 residents. Mind you, I would be passing medications, bathing, assisting with dinner, and training someone on their first day. So practically doing all of this on my own. With no breaks. I told my boss I really was not feeling well, and this is my second day off in a row, after working nearly a month straight. I did not want to do it. She begged, and I finally acquiesced, but on the promise she stayed to work the rest of the shift too, so I wouldn't be the only one doing the work of 4 people. She quickly agreed, and I got ready and headed in. I didn't want my residents to suffer, and they surely would have if it was just my boss. She was insufferable and cruel. About 2 hours into this shift, I overheard the new hire tell our boss that she is missing her daughter's recital and really would have liked to been there, and my boss suggested she leaves after I pass my dinner meds and dinner is fed to our residents. The new hire quickly agreed. I was upset because we were about an hour out from dinner and none of the caregiving duties were fulfilled, as I was still working on a pass that wasn't completed by the previous shift. Well, time passed, and sure enough the new hire left, while none of the important caretaking outside of medications, dinner was done. My boss was of little to no help and didn't have an endorsement from our nurse to pass medications. Come 8 p.m., and I am in full swing of running between rooms to assist residents with all needs before bedtime while simultaneously giving their meds, made it easier on me to get it done room by room. My boss, who had been sitting down the entire time, pipes up and says, "I'm tired, am I going to be able to leave soon?" I reminded her the only reason I came in was on the premise I wouldn't work alone. She kept pressing me, and I finally snapped at her and said, "I worked 28 days, have had 1 day of rest, and have been left by myself on a shift more times than I could count on both hands. I want to go home too." Hell, I could have been home. I came in to take care of my people because nobody else will. But that wasn't enough. I understand that but I've been here since 9 this morning. That's 12 hours, she quips. At this point I was done. So I finally looked at her and said, "If you can let me finish my med pass I will let you leave." "How long?" "I still have 6 rooms to finish." Okay, I took up the entire rest of the night, before the next shift came in, going as I had been before she piped in. Hell, I even got my showers in. She was sitting down still, not saying a word as I moseyed along, giving my residents their medicines, brushing their teeth, and finishing up new briefs, bed clothes. She didn't say a word. I texted my resignation to the head administrator, and reported the facility to the authorities the next day. Thanks for listening.